Well, folks, it happened again. Donald J. Trump, the man who needs no introduction but often gets one anyway, is back in the Oval Office. That's right, after 4 years away, he managed to pull off what Grover Cleveland did way back in 1892, winning a second non-consecutive term as President of the United States. It's not your typical political comeback story, but hey, this is Trump we're talking about. Now, this inauguration was always going to be different. Not just because of the whole second time around thing, but also because Mother Nature decided to throw a bit of a curveball. And by curveball, I mean a polar vortex that sent temperatures plummeting to a bone-chilling -12 degrees Celsius. So, for the first time in, well, a very long time, the inauguration ceremony had to be moved indoors. No grand outdoor spectacle on the steps of the Capitol building this year. Instead, it all went down inside the Capitol Rotunda, a much cozier if slightly less majestic setting for this historic event. Now, I know what you're thinking. Trevor, how extreme was this weather really? Was it move the inauguration indoors extreme? And the answer, my friends, is a resounding yes. We're talking about the kind of cold that makes your eyeballs freeze shut. The kind of cold that could turn a Florida retiree into a popsicle faster than you can say Trump Tower. It was so cold that even the pigeons in Washington, D.C. were wearing tiny MAGA hats for warmth. They weren't happy about it, but hey, a pigeon's gotta do what a pigeon's gotta do. So the decision was made to ditch the outdoor plans and move the whole shebang inside. No problem, right? The Capitol Rotunda is a pretty impressive plan B after all. Except of course it's significantly smaller than the National Mall, which meant a lot fewer people got to witness the event in person. But hey, at least those lucky enough to snag a ticket didn't have to worry about frostbite. Silver linings, people. Despite the last-minute venue change, the ceremony itself stuck to tradition, for the most part. At noon sharp, Donald Trump, flanked by his ever-loyal Vice President J.D. Vance, took the oath of office, administered by Chief Justice John Roberts. And yes, before you ask, he did use his own personal copy of the Bible because, well, why wouldn't he? It wouldn't be a Trump event without a little bit of Trumpian flair, now would it? We had prayers from religious leaders of various faiths because even in these divided times we can all agree that someone, somewhere, needs to be praying for this country. And of course there were speeches, though thankfully they were kept mercifully short. No one wants to be stuck inside on a freezing cold day listening to politicians drone on and on. Now, no inauguration is complete without a guest list full of dignitaries and celebrities. And this one was no different. We had senators and congressmen, governors and ambassadors, all bundled up in their finest winter wear. But the real headliners were the former presidents in attendance. That's right, folks, both Joe Biden and Barack Obama made an appearance, because apparently, nothing says class act like showing up to your successor's inauguration, even if you don't necessarily agree with everything they stand for. Or anything they stand for that matter. Let's be honest though, they were probably just there for the free coffee and pastries. And who can blame them? When you're a former president, you gotta take advantage of those perks while you still can. Of course, no inauguration is complete without a little bit of musical entertainment, and this year they really pulled out all the stops. Okay, maybe not all the stops, but they did manage to book some pretty big names. First up, we had the one and only Carrie Underwood belting out a rousing rendition of America the Beautiful. You know, the song that always makes you feel super patriotic, even if you can't quite remember all the words. And then, in a move that can only be described as unexpected, the Village People took the stage. Yes, you read that right. The Village People. The disco legends themselves, and they did not disappoint, performing a medley of their greatest hits, including YMCA, Macho Man, and of course, In the Navy. Now, the inauguration ceremony itself might have been moved indoors, but that didn't mean the party had to stop. Oh no, my friends, the festivities continued long after the last speech was given and the last note was sung. First up, there was the relocated parade, which took place not on Pennsylvania Avenue, as is tradition, but inside the Capital One Arena. Think of it as a parade meets arena rock concert, with all the pomp and circumstance you'd expect from an inauguration, but with added pyrotechnics and a killer sound system. And then, of course, there were the inaugural balls. Because what's a presidential inauguration without a chance for the political elite to don their finest gowns and tuxedos, sip champagne and dance the night away? But it wasn't all fun and games. No, after the last confetti had fallen and the last glass of champagne had been drained, it was back to business for President Trump. First on the agenda, signing a whole stack of executive orders because that's what presidents do on their first day back in office. What those executive orders entailed, well, that's anyone's guess. Will he bring back his Twitter account? Will he declare war on climate change, or maybe just climate scientists? Will he finally reveal the secret recipe for his mother's meatloaf? Only time will tell. And finally, to round out the inaugural festivities, there was the national prayer service held the day after the inauguration. Because even in a country as divided as ours, we can all agree on the importance of prayer. Or at least we can all agree that it's a good excuse to get out of work for a few hours and listen to some uplifting music. So, there you have it, folks. The second inauguration of Donald J. Trump. A historic event, to be sure, even if it did take place indoors. Now, what does this all mean for the future of America? Honestly, your guess is as good as mine. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be an interesting 4 years. Buckle up, America, it's going to be a bumpy ride.